And also our vendors here today put this magnificent property in your hands to be able to buy it. Before I do put the property in your hands, there's a few legal responsibilities I must fulfil. I will go through those as quickly as I possibly can. The documentation has been available for your perusal for the previous 30 minutes. I do encourage, if you have any questions with regard to the paperwork or with the property itself, I encourage you to ask those questions. Myself or representatives from First National are quite happy to answer those questions. What I would ask, if you hold the questions until the end of what I've gone through, that just makes my job a bit easier, it makes the auction flow a little bit better, but we're quite happy and welcome your questions today. As I've said, there's some legal responsibilities I must fulfil. I'll go through the paperwork. As I've said, the vendor's agent is Hall and Partners in First National in Dandenong. We're representing our vendors here today. Our legal practitioners, Rivendell Conveyancing, have prepared all the documentation, and it's pretty straightforward documentation. The property identified on the certificate of title that we are selling you today is lot 44 on plan of subdivision 053765, folio 11897, volume 11897, folio 012, commonly known as the property at number 17, McKay Road in Rowville. Settlement today, we're calling for, as we normally do at an auction, for a 10% deposit to be paid today. We have very generous vendors here today. They're quite happy for you to consider to settle 30, 60 or 90 days, which is quite unusual today. 30, 60 or 90 days. So keep that in mind when you're bidding. If you've got a property to sell before you buy this one, it's going to give you plenty of opportunity to be able to put that property on the market and sell it. One of the things that we have to do with a public auction, there are rules for the conduct of a public auction, and I'm required at law to read those out to you. I will stop on a couple of occasions and explain them in more detail to you as I go. And it says as follows. The auctioneer may make one or more bids on behalf of the vendor of the land at any time during the auction. What that means is the only person who can bid on behalf of the vendor now is myself, and I will identify any vendor bids by saying a vendor bid of. So you'll note it's the vendor bidding, and that's quite clear. The auctioneer may refuse any bid. The auctioneer may determine the amount by which the bidding is to be advanced. The auctioneer may withdraw the property from sale at any time. The auctioneer may refer a bid to the vendor at any time before the conclusion of the auction. In the event of a dispute concerning a bid, the auctioneer may resubmit the property for sale at the last undisputed bid and start the bidding again. And probably this last one is the most important one if you're here to bid today. If the reserve price has been set for the property and the property is passed in below that reserve price, the vendor will first negotiate with the highest bidder for the purchase of the property. Now, I'll hesitate on that one. That's a really important factor. If you haven't been to an auction before, what that means is we don't get to the reserve, but you're the highest bidder. You have a very privileged position about to come and negotiate with your vendors here today. So keep that in mind when you're bidding. That's a very privileged position. You can come in, you have that first right of refusal to deal with the vendors here today. So please keep that in mind when you're bidding. It's such an important factor. As I already said, the documentation has been on display for some time. Section 32 has been on display. It's a pretty straightforward Section 32. It indicates, as I said, we're selling lot 44. It's a beautiful block of land, pretty much rectangular. Easement at the rear, north facing north-south, which is the ideal situation. It has a planning zoning, low density residential zone. So everyone's aware of that situation. Pretty much that's it. Does anyone have any questions in regard to the documentation itself? Well, it would be so remiss of me today not to mention a few salient points about the property itself. You've only got to look around you, haven't you? Look at it. Magnificent. A piece of your own bushland with a suburban backdrop. How unique is that now in Melbourne? Developers are cutting everything up into 230 square metre blocks. Here you've got just over 4,000 square metres of your own bushland. Who wouldn't love to wake up this morning, come out with your first cup of coffee under the trees? Listen to the bellbirds of the Kookaburra before. Did anyone hear it? Beautiful bush location. Great opportunity to renovate, to move in, to do what you want to do with a magnificently solid property. I said to one of the vendors before, they don't build them like this anymore. So it's a magnificent property. One of the things I always look at when I'm buying a property is the surrounding houses. Have a look at the quality that's around you today. The whole street screams of quality. So your investment here today can't be faulted. Magnificent piece of land, magnificent surroundings, magnificent location, and a unique opportunity, as I say, to get your own little piece of bushland, but being still so close to major schools, shopping centre, access to the freeway. I can't fault it. It is really, we've said on our board, it's a unique opportunity. That's the best way to describe it. This type of opportunity doesn't come along every day. I promise you. Does anyone have any questions in regard to the property itself? Hope you're not all as quiet in a couple of minutes' time. No questions of me? I've got one of you. Every auctioneer starts the same, I'm no different. Pull me out of bed, start me anywhere you like at number 17 McKay Road in Rowville. Pull me out of bed, start me anywhere you like. People are very shy. Pull me out of bed, start me anywhere you like. You're going to be shy, I'll tell you one thing from experience. Very rarely does the first bid buy the property. You're going to be shy, well I'll start you off. As I said before, I must identify this as being a vendor bid, which I'm going to. I'm going to start the bidding at $1.7 million, $1,700,000. And I'll take you up in $20,000 rises. At a vendor bid of 1.7, can I see 1.72 anywhere? 1.7, I'm fairly big. I'm in your hand. Can I say 1.72, $1,720,000 anywhere? Not here to waste your time. Genuine vendors want to sell the property. They've indicated that by giving you very, very, very good terms. Can I see a bid anywhere of $20,000 to take me up to 1,720? No bids anywhere? If I have no bids, I have no alternatives. I will refer to the vendor, and if we don't get a better bid, then I will formally pass the property in. So if you can bear with me for one moment, I will refer to my vendors. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. As you can appreciate, tough times for vendors. It's big decisions when we're just discussing before, selling property is an emotional time. Very, very much an emotional time. Very hard for vendors. I've got my instructions, they're quite specific. We're sitting on a bid of 172, 1 million, 1.72, 1.7, 1.7, I beg your pardon, 1.7. We're looking for 1.72. Looking for 1.72 anywhere. Sitting on 1.7, looking for 1.72. Remember what I said before. If we do not reach the vendor's reserve, and I'm close to passing the property in right now, if we do not reach the vendor's reserve, then the highest bidder here today will have the right to negotiate with our vendors, exclusive right to negotiate with our vendors. It's a very, very privileged position to be in. And I'm asking for a bid of $20,000 to put you in that position. 1.7 we are bid. 1.72, thank you. 1.72 I have. 1.72 I have. I'm now looking for 1.74. 1.72 I'm fairly bid. Of 1.72. 1.72 I'm fairly bid. $1,720,000 I'm fairly bid. I'm looking for 1.74 anywhere. 1.72 I'm fairly bid. For the first call at 1.72. Looking for 1.74 anywhere. Second call at 1.72. Fairly bid on my right hand side. 1.72. Can I say 1.74 anywhere? Anywhere at all. At 1.72 for the second call. For the third and final call at $1,720,000. Fairly bid just here. Again, I need to consult with my vendors. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Thanks again for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. Received my instructions, they're quite specific. What I'm about to do is put in another vendor bid of $1,750,000 as a vendor bid. But my vendors, as I've said before, are extremely keen to sell. They're very realistic people, and they've said the next bid over 175 will buy the property. Will buy the property. We will sell it to that person today. If that bid happens to be $5,000, my vendors have been quite specific, they will sell the property for that. We have a bid of $1,750,000 on behalf of our vendors. I'm looking for a rise. I've said I'll be generous, even a $5,000 rise anywhere. We'll buy the property today. There's the $5,000 there. Thank you very much. Give everyone else the same opportunity. 1.755. Can I say 1.710? Anywhere. 1,755,000. Can I say round it off at the 6? Same opportunity. You started off with me. I'll finish with you if you like at $5,000. Button off your shirt, $5,000. Look at the property. Lovely. It is lovely. You come here and do my job. Beautiful. $5,000. It's all we're asking. And that gives you the opportunity. I'll tell you something. Don't miss it for $5,000. This, I've said, this is truly unique. I've been a real estate agent for over 40 years. You don't see this type of property every day of the week. And one other thing I'll tell you. If it gets sold to these people, and I hope it does for their sake, you won't ever be able to drive down Taylor's Road again. You certainly won't be able to drive down McKay Road again, because you'll be reminded that for $5,000 you missed out on this magnificent property. And that's what it is. It's a magnificent property. Can I give you the opportunity to purchase this property today? My job's to help you buy it. Can I see $5,000 anywhere?
It's on the market now, isn't it?
It's on the market. That's what the vendors have agreed to. It's on the market. We're going to sell for $1,755,000 with the bid right here in the centre. I'm looking for $1,750,000, 60, yeah. Sorry, it's hard. The 1 million makes it difficult. For the first call, at $1,755,000 right here. Second call, $1,755,000. Are you all silent? Are you all done? A couple of seconds to think about it. A couple of seconds. Just think about it. Look around you. Look around you for $5,000. You can't get a holiday for that. Living on this place would be like living in a holiday resort. For the third and final call, $1,755,000 in the centre here. These people are going to be the lucky buyers in a matter of seconds if you don't raise your hand. At $1,755,000 for the third and final call, sold to the gentleman in the middle.
Thank you.
Congratulating.